All right, we'll see if that's any better. I'm not sure why I'm so technologically challenged. I do not know what it is. But in either case, reason that I came on today was the Declaration of Independence. So I don't know. When I hear about the document, or when I hear about this document, it's usually that that first paragraph and maybe the beginning of the second paragraph that gets some attention, and then really the whole rest of the document is completely ignored. But if we kind of look at things, we can what's going on, Huntington? Take two. We're gonna try this again. When you look at all this, I don't know that the issues that they were having are, I mean, they seem, looking back on it, not that, I can look back on it, but looking back on history, it seems like the amount of control being exercised over the colonies was less restrictive than the controls that we're currently experiencing by our government. Um, it paints a picture of what we're willing to put up with, uh, what we're willing to tolerate. So I don't know. I just thought, it might be good to revisit. Audio's not clear. You, bro, have got to be kidding me. There's not even any other audio. Now you can see why I'm going to do this.
Is that better? I figured I can't screw it up today. I'm not going to play another video. There's no other audio that I need to count on. I'm just going to read, and the mic is all I'm going to have to depend on today. So let me know, is one better or is one worse? So I've got this thing. It's fine now. So I've got this thing. So this is a Zoom recorder, and I had it plugged into the computer. It's supposed to give me superior audio. It's I don't I don't get it why it's such an issue. I'm gonna plug it back in because it might like auto connect. So I don't know. Apparently, I can't have nice things, and they can't work. But in either case, back to the task at hand. So, in Congress, July 4th, 1776, the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal situation to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. And I'll just pause here. It's a shame that as wise as the framers were, that they couldn't see past that the hypocrisy that they're going to lay out in the next sentence. That there were so many slaveholders, and it didn't it didn't take much for them to write things in their mind to justify it. You're supposed to, or maybe not you're supposed to, but I was always taught that you judge people, um, you judge people by the times that they were living in. So it's real easy for us to say whatever about them. Um, I know that slavery is abhorrent. Um, you would think that from reading this document that they would think the same, and I think that's not completely untrue. Like, for as much hate as Hamilton gets, Hamilton wasn't a slaveholder. Um, so it's just a shame that they couldn't see past the hypocrisy that they were going to kind of lay out here. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such a form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath soon that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient suffrage of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injustices, usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. He has refused to assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained, and when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them. He has refused to pass other laws in accommodation of large districts of people unless these people would relinquish their right of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them, formidable to tyrants only. He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. He has dissolved the representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people. He has refused for a long time, after such dislocations, to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers, incapable of annihilation, have returned to the people at large for their exercise. The state remaining in the the state, remaining in the meantime exposed to all the dangers of invasion from without and convulsions within. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states for the purpose obstructing the laws for naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriations of land. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing to assent to the laws establishing judiciary power. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for his tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people, to eat out their substance. He has kept among us in times of peace standing armies without consent of our legislatures. He has affected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power. He has combined with others to subject us to jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation, for quartering large bodies of troops among us, for protecting them by mock trial from punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states, for cutting off trade with all parts of the world, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us in many cases the benefits of trial by jury, for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretend offenses, for abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government, and enlarging its boundaries as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies, for taking away our charters, abolishing our valuable laws, and altering fundamental the forms of our governments, for suspending our own legislatures and declaring them invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his province and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coasts, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. He is, at this time, transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages, and totally unworthy the head of the civilized nation. He has constrained our fellow citizens taken captive on the high seas to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, and to fall themselves by their hands. He has excited domestic insurrections among us, and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers the merciless Indian savages, whose known rule warfare is an undistinguished destruction for all ages, sexes, and conditions. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. Nor have we been wanting in attentions to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our emigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity, and we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and of insanguinity. We must therefore acquiesce in its necessity, which denounces our separation, and hold them, as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, and peace, friends. In peace, friends. We therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress assembled, appealed to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions due in the name and by authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free, independent states, and they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states, we have the full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and do all the other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for this support of this declaration, with firm reliance on the protection of the divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. So that's it, folks. Not too many names on that thing, huh? So, I don't know. I feel like maybe we've put up with more than the British Crown put them through, but that's just one man's humble perspective. And that's the story from my office today. So hope everybody has a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Appreciate you guys being here.